You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Hi, we are Enterprise-Splaining, the podcast where we explain Star Trek Enterprise to each other and to you. I'm Jamie, and these are my co-hosts, Bill.
Hello.
And Maria.
So now you're laughing at your own intros, Jamie.
Well, I'm laughing because I forgot to put my name, so I was like, I'm host
one.
Hi, we are Enterprise-Splaining, the podcast where we explain Star Trek Enterprise to each other and to you. I'm Jamie, and these are my co-hosts, Bill.
Hello.
And Maria.
Hi.
And we have Jarrah back with us. Jarrah, just in case people forgot from last week, can you remind everybody who you are?
I'm Jarrah, and I'm one of the former hosts of the Women at Warp podcast.
Today, our mission is a second contact. Last week, I told Bill, Maria, and Jarrah what happened in the Star Trek Enterprise episode Bounty. They have now watched this episode. I'm so sorry, you guys. Truly, I am. And they are back with their thoughts. But we definitely recommend that you listen to last week's episode before listening to this one, because this is kind of a follow-up. Before we get to that, though, I just want to remind everyone that we have merch available. We have very cute Porthos Appreciation Society shirts available, and we also have shirts with just our podcast logo. It's in the ESO Network TeePublic store, which you can find as a link in our show notes, or you can go to esonetwork.com and click the link from there. All right, so before we get into the discussion, I just want to remind everybody what happened on last week's episode.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately. Last week on Enterprise-Splaining, Archer was captured by a bounty hunter who was working for the Klingons. His own attempts to escape failed, and the Enterprise wasn't able to find him. But luckily for everybody, the bounty hunter eventually just changed his mind and let him go. Also, there was a B-plot. Sorry, I had to explain that B-plot in detail last week. I'm not doing that again. So I guess we can get into it. But do we want to actually start with the A-plot?
Sure. Yeah.
Before things just go absolutely off the rails with B-plot?
Here, I'll start with it. First of all,
go for it.
A huge, serious upgrade on the Tellarite makeup in terms of what they look like. Jamie, did you ever see a Tellarite from the original series?
No, I don't think I ever have.
All right, let me drop this into the chat. I anticipated this.
Oh, I can't wait.
They just, clearly looked like rubber masks that you,
yes.
like old, child Halloween mask style, where there's holes for the eyes and the nose.
Yeah, like the hard plastic almost.
Oh my God.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, this is terrifying.
Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
They were
Oh
only
my God.
They were only in
I
a
don't
couple
like
of
this.
scenes. Yeah, no, it's bad.
This is going to give me nightmares.
Yeah, kind of horrifying. So yeah, much better makeup.
Oof,
in this
I'm taking
episode.
that off the screen as quickly as possible.
I'm gonna set fire to my computer now.
Yeah, well, Enterprise did do better.
On the look of the Tellarites, I assume that I'm the only one that saw this, but I just couldn't help but think they both look like Michael McKean. Like if Michael McKean was a Tellarite,
wow,
it's
amazing.
I compared the photos side by side, and it's all the proportions of the facial features and the angles are the same, and also the hair on the brother is the comb back blonde kind of situation. So I just couldn't stop thinking about that. And sorry to Michael McKean.
I'm gonna have to go back and look.
So here's my question for the A plot, for the Archer plot. Do we care? We know he's not going to get turned over to the Klingons. We know he's not going to be executed. So essentially, the whole plot is about why this Tellarite is doing this and his story and his background and how this is, why he's
but that's
doing
every Star Trek episode. We always know they're not going to kill the characters, but
okay, well,
we got to put them in danger for a story.
Okay, well, that gets into a storytelling idea where it's I think a friend of mine explained it. It's like Conan the Barbarian. If you read the Conan the Barbarian stories, you know Conan's not going to die. So the point is, how much is he going to suffer before he achieves his goal? So, but Archer isn't sort of suffering in this. He's just sort of vaguely trying to convince this guy. And the guy is not the Tellurite like seems pretty sympathetic. He seems like a
Mhm.
pretty chill dude the entire time. He's not, there's not really an uncovering there. We just, find out what happened to him, and Archer convinces him. But it wasn't. I didn't find it a compelling story.
You know why I think that is? I think it's because, like I kind of alluded to in my summary, no, Archer was not responsible for him eventually getting free. The Enterprise was not responsible for him getting free. Nothing any of them did got him free. It's just that his kidnapper basically changed his mind.
Right.
And he changed his mind because like the Klingons were kind of shitty,
Mhm.
were extra shitty to him. And he
Right.
was like, you know what? Fuck them. I'm going to basically scam them since they keep scamming me. And then eventually he's like, I guess what am I going to do with this guy now? I guess I'll send him back to the Enterprise. And no one from the Enterprise, including Archer, had any agency in that story.
Well,
I guess you can make the argument that Archer convinced him
Mhm.
with his rhetoric that was like tried to convince him of it, and you
Right.
can like that he was the voice going, hey, these guys are jerks, hey, this is the like
Right.
I
But
would give
The
him
brother
that.
was doing the same thing, and the brother I felt like was more convincing.
Well,
That-
yeah, because the pivot moment, and I think it would have worked better if the initial Tellurite, I've forgotten his name, was more sort of fanatical about this, and
Scalar.
more driven about this. And then he
Mhm.
gets to the pivot moment where he's doing this everything he gets his ship back, he gets his brother back, he gets his life back, everything is okay. And then his brother tells him, "Ship's gone. They tore the ship apart.
Mhm.
The ship does not exist."
Yeah.
And then that's the crumble moment. But because this guy has been so sort of chill and reasonable the entire time, it doesn't hit.
I developed a hot take during this episode because my boyfriend and I were watching this together, and he's like, "Well, I mean, it's a pretty classic Star Trek plot where like the
Mhm.
captain or character gets abducted, they have to convince their captor to like be a better person." And I started thinking about it, and I was like, "Okay, so what about this isn't working for me?" And I think it's a couple things. First of all, it's Archer, and I'm like biased already. But his rhetorical skills, like he doesn't say anything insightful. Archer basically starts out with, "You should feel bad for me," and then continues to, "You should realize this makes you a bad person." And then this turned into my hot take because I was like, well, that is kind of basically what Picard does and what other captains do.
Except
Is they
he actually started with, if you take me back to Enterprise, we can pay you double whatever the Klingons paid you. Like he tries to,
Yeah.
he starts with a bribe.
Yeah, and but I'm like, well, he's not compelling at delivering the argument. Also, I just feel like it is not actually a strategy that like it's the absolute wrong way to convince someone to do something. Like if someone believes something really strongly, to start out by being like, well, think about me, and then
Yeah.
think about why what you
Yeah.
believe makes you a bad person. I'm like, wait, why
Never
did
gonna work.
anyone think this would work?
Yeah.
So that said, I get that it's like a TV show, and watching people like slowly de-radicalize people over the course of an entire season probably wasn't that compelling. But there's my my hot take is that maybe actually a lot of those moments shouldn't have worked in Star Trek.
The thing is that Archer has been in situations like this before and has been weirdly good at reading, like the Ferengi episode where he
Mhm.
immediately knew exactly what to say to the Ferengi that would, like, he immediately clocked it. And there was another, the episode where
Canamar?
was it Canamar? Where
prison
they
ship
where they're on
episode?
the prison ship, and again he
Mhm.
was like
Yeah.
immediately like I'm also a criminal, and so it was kind of, I actually thought it was kind of good that he like tried his little games, like I'm gonna give you twice as much or whatever, and none of that worked, and he
Mhm.
had to go to a more sort of emotional plea, which still didn't quite work. I did have a general question about the Tellarites. Didn't he seem awfully chill? I don't want to
Yeah.
be racist, but like Tellarites are supposedly like super argumentative and like very, confrontational.
Yeah, he definitely
and this
didn't
dude was
seem like that at all.
chill as hell.
The only time I recall seeing Tellarites was in the original series episode where the ambassador is straight up getting in Spock's dad's grill about like what position are you taking? Why are you doing this? You're against us. But yeah, I've always thought them of as sort of an aggressive race, but they don't really appear that much. So,
but that's also what like I think T'Pol said in previous and like either the previous episode and then I think they reference it here where he was like they're very argumentative or he said something about it like so they're like it's weird that they would even say that and then have these two like pretty reasonable dudes having a conversation.
That gets into my next. I was questioning what this note. T'Pol's advice on aliens rears its head again.
Yeah, so maybe it's just that T'Pol's racist.
It's Thanksgiving at T'Pol's house, and she has some thoughts.
I mean, I just thought that the brother part like was too short because I actually was kind of interested in that, and I think that they could have done better if they had only had either the brother or the rival bounty hunter and spent a little more time on it because it just wasn't enough time for me to really care that much about either relationship. That said, Robert O'Reilly, yes, Robert O'Reilly, played the other bounty hunter, was dope and reminded me of Star Trek Crypt Keeper, and I was here for it. But I wanted like more time with him or with the brother, and there just wasn't enough time in the episode. They could have just got rid of the B plot.
That's what I was about to say. Like, if they had just gotten rid of the B plot, it would have been much. They'd have had plenty of time to talk about all of that.
You guys remember when we used to complain? We used to complain that there were never B plots. Season 1 like had almost no B plots,
and now the B plots
it was like two episodes with B plots in season 1. Season 2, they've started building a lot more B plots in, and you know what? I regret ever saying that. Let's just go from this to like the Malcolm cheese eating. That was even a C plot. Like we just don't need these like weird B plots that are just like, let's put all our weird sex stuff in here.
Yeah.
I disagree with you. I think the T'Pol Phlox thing was the A plot because that is 100% why this episode was made, what it was focused around, and I'm almost certain if we could find the commercials, how it was advertised.
It definitely felt like it was like 50-50 time-wise. What did you guys think of Scalar? I really liked Scalar, and I liked his story. I do feel like it was really fast. I think because I'm doing explainer, I'm going so slow and like writing down each line, it felt like more, but it does go very quick.
I liked him. I liked his character. I also liked he was like, I have a note, like he was very good at kidnapping. Like he knew exactly, like he had a plan and he was 100% like that level of competence the Enterprise crew could learn from.
The way he's like, do you need a tour guide? in the most suspicious manner possible.
But he was like, oh, here you are, bam, shooting you, taking you, off you go, sending a thing, y'all are gonna go the wrong direction. Like he had it all planned out, and I was very impressed with that level of competence on this show. You never see that on this show.
I think A, he was good at this job, but B, also this crew is very good at being kidnapped. Like Archer should have handles on his back at this point to like make him easier to carry.
Yeah, it's true.
The only other thing I'll say on the A plot is that I fully agreed that the most surprising thing was how competent Reed and Trip were doing, just commanding the ship without like any super cringy moments, except for like a little look at the end where it seems like Reed clearly told Trip that T'Pol wanted to bone him.
There's no doubt.
But yeah.
I mean, to be fair, if I'd had an experience like that, I would definitely want to tell somebody too. I feel like that is not a thing you could just keep inside.
Right.
Well, and they've already talked about fantasizing about it when they were stuck in the shuttle pod. So
yeah, exactly. These are, again, terrible Klingons. These Klingons are just so terrible at being Klingons.
Yeah.
Like, I'm tight. Like, come on. There's never any honor anywhere. And like, that's the one thing you know about Klingons. I don't get it.
Yeah, at least they usually pretend
That some
honor matters to
of
them.
honor. Yeah. And then the only other thing was, I love a grappler. That I was so happy when that grappler was like,
wasn't it so cool when
it
went by and it like went out and hit it, and then that was so cool.
I realized, yeah.
beautifully done.
My thought on that was, I realized, this is sci-fi physics and they have artificial gravity and everything. Archer's back should have been broken by the
100%.
jerking. Like, he should have been thrown
100%.
against the bulkhead.
I know. I
Because-
get so excited every
was
time
fun.
the grappler comes out.
It made me almost forgive them for not fucking using the transporter, which is what they should have done. But
yeah, like they don't need that. That's not even
It was
their
a-
shuttle.
yeah, it was a great excuse to use the grappler. I was happy with it. I love a grappler.
It's interesting because we've talked about how one of the annoying things about the show is how, despite the fact that it takes place like way earlier than TOS, the technology is basically the same. It's just they will comment on it more and be like, oh, this thing is new.
Yeah.
And like the one thing is that they don't have a tractor beam, and so they have the grappler instead, and that's like the one new thing, and look how fun it is. So
love
I
the
really
grappler.
think it shows that they should have done more new weird stuff.
And the only other thing I had was actually something Stephen noticed, which Scalar, is that his name? When Scalar finally says, okay, we're under attack, I'm going to let Archer fly the ship. He actually like explains the nav console to him, which every other episode, it's like you just sit down and you know automatically what to do, even like on the Klingon ship or whatever. But he was like, nope, this is. I was like, okay, I appreciated that.
Yeah, it was a good attention to detail.
Yeah.
All right, it's time for B plot, Bill. I know you've been waiting.
Okay,
The horrors begin.
I want to set a level here. It's like, in terms of part of what's going on here, is part of the comedy and tension of this is that it's Phlox who is the least conventionally attractive member of the crew. Now, here's the thing, though. John Billingsley is in better shape than I am. Like, he is.
I wrote on here, he's so scrawny. I was like, I guess because he's normally in robes. I was like, he's so tiny.
Like, he's not cut like all the other male actors on this are, but that smock is doing him no favors. That smock makes him look
Not at
really
all.
portly. It's like a maternity dress, like, so
Yeah.
that's not. But I think it's also like his costume gives him a receding hairline. He's got like ridges on his face. That mark on his body, was that hair or was that a skin tone?
I think it was like a skin tone thing.
Okay. So not doing him any favors, but it's also the way he was playing it was like a a reverse Playboy cartoon where T'Pol is chasing him around the desk, at the office thing. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's not out of character for Phlox to be uncomfortable with T'Pol hitting on him, but it was out of character for him to be so weird about her being the nudity and
Right.
and him being weird about himself being naked. Fine, but him like remember like when he was like looking away while he was putting on the decon gel.
That's
And I'm
what
like,
I
you're
thought
a
was the
fucking
weirdest.
doctor, man. Come on. And you were literally performing a medical procedure here. Like, that's weird. And I think that was even before T'Pol started getting weird. So I don't know that there was really a reason for that. I was thinking, wouldn't this be better if instead of Phlox, they'd used Travis? Because Travis, it would have made perfect sense, not for the nudity stuff, but for Travis to be super uncomfortable
Right.
and for him to like be very nervous about it. That would have made much more sense to me.
Yeah.
Than Phlox. But I get what they were doing, and I get they were trying to play it for laughs to some degree.
Yeah, that is the quote unquote joke of this, is that a guy doesn't want to fuck T'Pol. That's the humor of this. And I think John Billingsley understood the assignment because his facial
100%.
expressions were
100%.
He was doing what was asked of him. Whether they should have asked that is another matter.
So this episode was directed by Roxanne Dawson.
Yeah.
B'Elanna Torres from Voyager. And I there were a couple of things where I noticed that, like, first of all, I don't like one of my very first notes is just in the very opening shot, the ship looks so pretty. Like, it was just a really beautiful opening shot. But there were also things like as soon as the first time we saw Decon, my husband was like, hey, do you notice what's different? There's no nipples. And I'm like, well, of course you would notice that. But there were no nipples. Like every other
such a good
decon.
point. I didn't even notice that.
And that's what happens when you have a female director, I would guess. Like that's not, I would guess she didn't even think about that. And I'm sure the male directors were like, this is what we're going to do.
That is such a good point. I mean, I didn't even, because I'm not like looking for that, but you're right.
Stephen was like, I wasn't looking for that.
Nipple.
I'm like, you were absolutely looking for that. The only other thing, the one other thing I noticed that and maybe it was just me, but Scott Bakula looked great in this episode. Like he was just framed really well.
He was
very
annoying,
handsome.
but he did look very good.
He looked great. And I was like, again, I think a female director knows how to show that a little bit.
She's great at visuals generally, like across her episodes. The only thing that I would say, pun intended, rubbed me the wrong way about the visuals was just like how strong the blue light was in the decon chamber when we're there for so long.
Yeah, it was really annoying.
It was a lot.
Did anybody else notice that when T'Pol had the decon gel on her, and also I guess because she was sweating, she was like super shiny and reflective, and Phlox was not at all. Like he was super matte.
Phlox had the matte version of the decon gel.
Well, I also couldn't tell to what extent they were implying she was sweaty from being hot. It was certainly like a very even distribution of shine.
Costuming note, Phlox's underwear, it looks like he's a dad on vacation in the 50s. He had like Bermuda shorts and like a pajama V-neck. Top on. Yeah,
it was like a sleeveless V-neck, and then like his shorts they ended maybe like 2 inches above his knees, and they were like big. Like it wasn't. He didn't have the little like blue undies that
the tighty blueies
men on the show tend to wear.
Yeah,
but they were not jean shorts, and therefore,
they were not jean shorts, which made me sad. I will say, I'm just looking at my notes that I scribbled, and halfway down I've got, I will never forgive B'Elanna for this. I don't know what I was referencing, but I can guess.
Was it perhaps the moment where Phlox wakes up and T'Pol is gently stroking his neck with decon gel?
That was awful. But I think the worst scene was when she's like, it's when she's full on into her situation and she's like on the floor, like like writhing around for no real reason. It was very disturbing.
The wall stuff. Oh, did you notice how much she's just rubbing herself on walls?
Like an 80s music video? Yeah.
The thing that I disliked the most was the point where she asks him, like, don't you think I'm attractive? Because the look on her face, like she's giving like these puppy dog eyes, and it just is like so wrong, even for her being irrational, because it reads like insecure.
Yeah, and she is 100% not. Yeah, agreed.
That was like the most I was angry part for me.
Well, to the point, like we always bring up, like they always have to establish that Malcolm is very definitely not gay. So when T'Pol is explaining her situation, I have to mate with a male. It's like,
but she didn't say that to Malcolm. She said that.
No,
to
she
Phlox.
said that to Phlox. But no, she was just saying that they had to very clearly establish that whatever release needs to involve a penis from a.
Yeah, she can't just get herself off.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. I will say that Steven's solution to the problem was just let Trip in. It'll be fine. Just let him in. He's bringing your food anyway. Just let him in.
Okay.
Problem solved.
On that note,
he's not wrong.
And this gets into our ongoing issue that Phlox is the only doctor on there. Nobody is monitoring the decon room while Phlox is in there. Like,
that was really weird. It is weird that they have two people, because Phlox also has to stay because he also like got the microbe,
right?
And like, what if something happened with the microbe and both of them got very sick?
They could be dying. Yeah.
Again, it's weird that there's one doctor and he has no assistants, and that there was nobody else like paying any attention to this.
And we saw that in Regeneration too, where he was infected and he was still doing everything, treating himself, and I guess they had a guard on him, but they didn't have any other medical personnel working with him.
I mean, we saw that when Jarrah Jarrah told us about 2 days and 2 nights when he was supposed to be hibernating, but oh no,
Yeah,
Travis
right,
got
wake him
hurt
up.
again, and there's no assistance.
It was
Mhm.
yeah.
I do like that they bring up the fact, and I think this is consistent in Phlox's character, that Denobulan men are much more inhibited than the women on their race, which yeah, like this reminded me of his reaction to Cutler when Cutler was DTF with him, and he was like he's like explaining like let's have some boundaries here. Whereas when his wife comes in and is flirting with his coworker, he's like, oh, you should totally do this. Wait until she gives you a rose petal bath and all these things.
I like it that he's got his own hangups,
Right.
but he doesn't apply them to other people.
Yeah.
Like other people can totally be freaks. He's good with that. But he still, it's just like not for him.
Also, when he's like trying to work on his serum and she starts rubbing up against him, he goes, "You're disturbing my serum." I laughed so hard.
It's so interesting. Like we're talking about this B plot, and we're almost exclusively talking about Phlox, not T'Pol.
I don't feel like we need to talk about
I
T'Pol.
feel like you explained it very well and in a lot of detail. So it was actually slightly easier to watch than I expected. Although, to be fair, I also went after a full 7 hours of Nordic Spa and opened a bottle of wine to watch this episode because I was
That's the right
like,
call.
okay,
That is
I
the
need
right
to
call.
prepare. So it was still uncomfortable, but it went faster than I expected based on the conversation.
That's because when we recorded, the reason we recorded for 3 hours is because I would say one sentence, and then you guys had to talk about that sentence for 10 minutes, and then I'd say another sentence. So yeah, these scenes were actually quite quick, but it took us a very long time to talk about them. It was one of the harder explainers because I feel like the thing that's most noticeable in this B plot is Jolene Blaylock's physicality. And it's so hard to explain that.
Oh, yeah.
So, but it was just like without understanding the way that she's moving her body, you don't quite get fully like how uncomfortable it is. The way, like Maria, you used the word undulating, and yeah, just like the way she never stopped moving. She was just constantly like her shoulders moving up and down, her chest moving back and forth, like her whole body just like constantly undulating.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it was very uncomfortable. Though it was funny when she was eating the food.
Yes, that was funny.
And Trip was like, "What's going on in there? Everything okay?"
Yeah. When Phlox pushes her back like behind that door, and then it, like she's standing there just like eating it and staring. It was really
That
funny.
was a real Three's Company moment there. How is everything? And Phlox is just like trying to hold her back. She's like licking his palm and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I also thought the part where she was running down the hall, it was
Yeah.
just I don't know. I guess they're trying to play into the piece, which you mentioned about how like she actually could be really dangerous if she wanted to be. And but yeah, when they have her like kind of cornered by like the 3 men in the suits with
know.
guns,
Oh, that
it
was
just
terrifying.
felt weird to me.
I know.
And then like he just stuns her, and it's so anticlimactic because again, as you mentioned, that could have happened way earlier and would have saved us a lot of this trouble.
How great would it be if she literally starts tearing his EV suit? Like if she punches her way through his faceplate and literally starts tearing the EV suit off.
But like, just the whole like just give Phlox a phaser so he can stun her.
Yeah.
I'm very pro that solution.
He also seemed very calm when she escaped. I mean, I know it's just that's how Phlox is,
Right.
but he was just like, you might want to evacuate D deck. And no, like, there's no response.
She's after the D deck.
Yeah, and it had to be D deck.
Yeah, I know.
The only other note I had was it was just a weird thing when they finally do knock her out and then Phlox comes to wake her up. She is lying on what
On the
appears
floor.
to be a floor that just has light.
Yeah. It was like almost there was like a grate or something. It was very weird.
Yeah,
It
and
looked
it was,
not
and she was
comfortable.
like, clearly that was like where she was supposed to be lying, but it was just, how do you sleep on that? There's just
Yeah.
light coming up from the bed.
She had been stunned, so why didn't they just put her on a bed?
Yeah.
Like we've already broken Decon.
Well,
Drag a mattress into
to the-
there.
To the issue we talked about before, like suppose like Decon, in theory, cannot get out of there by yourself, although Trip and now T'Pol both have done it, there should be, like, restraints in there in case somebody is freaky,
Mhm.
like somebody needs to be.
Right.
It also felt like she was sleeping in such a way as I feel like there was like a sheet or a blanket or something, and it was implying she like threw it off or
Right.
something. But it was like, dude, just like put a blanket over her. She's been
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there was
done,
a
like-
pillow and a blanket that she has apparently kicked off.
Mm.
That's funny.
Yeah.
It is so weird, that like light thing. Like, why did they put her on that?
Yeah, it's so weird.
They definitely thought far ahead to give her the blanket and pillow, but like, why is she laying on a light?
There's no reason not to catch a tan while you're in Decon.
Yeah.
My only theory is that the same with the blue light is it's supposed to have some like decontaminating effects. It's like all the
Yeah.
lights in that room and the shiny gel, aside from just being we want people to look hot in sci-fi, is like it's like the light activates the glitter and that
Yeah.
kills the microbes. Did you know that people at raves never get sick for exactly this reason?
We'll have to ask some of our next scientist guest about that.
Mm.
My partner, I was like, so what do you think? And he was like, it was fine. It was Enterprise. From the other Enterprise we've watched, I wasn't surprised.
It was an Enterprise for Enterprise, maybe an Enterprise 5, Star Trek 2.
This one didn't make me angry. It was just kind of awkward. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just
uncomfortable.
so uncomfortable to watch.
I will say the one thing that I thought was very funny, even though it was gross, was the juxtaposition of her putting the gel on her legs and him putting. I just thought that was actually very funny the way they
I
did
told
that.
you, yeah, the cut to her foot, from
Yeah.
her foot to Phlox's foot, especially because at first it looks like it's her foot, and I
Yeah.
remember Eric was like, "Wait, are those T'Pol's toenails?" And I was like, "No, that's Phlox." But it was very funny to
Yeah.
do like the sexy close body part
Mhm.
close up shot,
Yeah,
and then cut to Phlox's
the same
toes.
thing. Yeah, exactly. I agree.
That was a nice touch. Bill, what did you?
I have a little dramatic reading for us from this episode.
Okay.
And it's from the beginning, where Phlox T'Pol is asking why they are the only ones in there and no one else is sick. And here's how Phlox explains that they were exposed to the microbe. I suspect you and I were contaminated when we climbed into the second ravine. Considering the quantity of fauna down there, I'm not at all surprised. We were probably infected by the marsupials I found.
Oh my god!
Not
There are
marsupials,
marsupials in space. I am vindicated.
Not more space marsupials.
I mean, the giant space koala is one thing. The real space marsupials. Giant space
Incredible.
koala
I
was
have-
clearly seeding the planets. But also, how are they getting infected by them? Are they cuddling the marsupials?
Oh, almost certainly.
Are...
I mean, it is Phlox, so maybe.
No, here we go. So Paul says, I told you to leave them alone. And Phlox says, their saliva is a natural anticoagulant. I couldn't return to the ship without a sample.
swabbing these like kangaroos.
Which doesn't explain why she got infected as well.
How did Phlox find out their saliva is an anticoagulant?
Also a great question.
So they haven't figured out what they are, but they have figured out that their saliva is an anticoagulant.
Yeah. It's convergence evolution. Another planet can have species that evolve to be like the species on Earth, but they are not actually, like, they're not part of the same evolutionary tree. You could call these, like, whatever planet marsupials, and then that would specify that they're not the same as Earth marsupials.
Okay, but if just given that like our frame of reference is Earth marsupials, which Earth marsupial do you think is the funniest to imagine
Oh, that's a
Phlox collecting
great-
saliva from?
Great question.
I mean, koala is great.
Right.
I'm trying to think.
Well, the possum would be like the really scary looking ones. That would be another,
Mhm.
But koalas are funnier because
I'm
they're
imagining him like,
cute.
yeah, holding the possum by the tail and like trying to...
Wombats.
Yeah, like a
Yeah.
wombat.
What if it's
Oh yeah.
the version of koalas that are drop bears, the one that they always say are be like the most horrifying creature in Australia?
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
That's it. I've said my piece.
But they
No.
should have done a short tracks just on that part of the scene that
Oh my
happened
God,
before.
that would be so good. I'd love that.
Any just like overall thoughts about the episode?
It
Sorry,
was
silence
awkward.
says so much.
Yeah, it's didn't make me angry.
It made me very uncomfortable, but it
Mm.
didn't really make me
Right.
angry. It was fine.
Yeah, it made me feel bad for Jolene Blaylock.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
I
a tiny
genuinely
but-
can't believe she didn't quit the show after.
But imagine if it had been a male director.
yeah.
I really think a big part of why she didn't quit the show was because, like, it would have been so much worse if it had been like whoever directed like the very first episode that had the decon scene in
Right.
it. Because it would have just been super gross, super gross. It was still pretty gross, but I also feel like it was gross, like again with the juxtaposition of the decon gel legs and stuff. Like it was equal opportunity gross, somewhat at least.
That felt purposeful, and it
Oh, yeah.
felt like they were purposefully. It was like a joke on the audience
Right.
for
Yeah.
leering.
100%.
Yes.
100%.
It was
Yeah.
like, oh, you're gonna leer at this Floxfoot.
yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
I mean, I would say go watch Blood Fever to see Roxanne Dawson having Ponfar, and I would argue better episode.
All right. We can now move on, thank God, to our unfortunately to our memory alpha
Lord.
segment. But don't worry, we don't have any body parts to talk about today. This is a segment where we talk about a weird or funny page we found on Memory Alpha. Jerry, the reason it's called Memory Alpha is because the first one we did was the Memory Alpha page for breast, which is an amazing page if you have not been to it. One of the things on there was that the only like naked breast with nipple that had ever been on Star Trek was on Discovery, and it was a Klingon breast. And Bill and Maria, both of you were like, we don't remember this. I don't remember seeing a breast. But I'm watching Discovery now, and it was in one of the first episodes.
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay.
But it just like flashes it to it. But then in
Oh.
every subsequent episode in season 1, it was part of the previously on. You would do the previously on, and it would always show the breast.
Oh my God, that's very funny.
Every time.
Amazing.
It was very
Amazing.
funny. So we don't have a body part to talk about today. This is actually a continuation of last week. So Jarrah, this is a photo of the bookshelf in Tripp's room.
Yes.
And like whatever books that you expect to
Oh.
see,
No.
guarantee this is not it.
And also the weird other shit that's on that shelf makes no sense.
Tripp has apparently won an interpretive dance award at some time, and it's like
Is that a toaster on the end?
I get why Picard would have these books.
Right.
but
That's
why
what
does
we were saying last
everyone
week.
in Star Trek have old printing, like old editions of classic books. Like I get the
Right.
whole, you don't want to violate
Mhm.
copyright by showing like clips of the movies at movie night,
Right.
but it like just make fake book covers.
Right.
Just make you
you know what?
Or like
No.
even if they're like, we want to put Gulliver's Travels in here for whatever reason, like have a copy that looks like more modern or something.
Yeah.
Like
No,
instead
this
of these books that definitely look like they got them at an antique
Yeah, no,
shop.
every one of these is
This
a
is set
true
dressing,
antique.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I looked at the Memory Alpha page for each of these books because there is a page for each book.
Oof.
And for 4 of the books, last week I went in depth on 2 of the books, Gulliver's Travels and The Gorilla Hunters.
Okay.
I'm going to do the last 2 today. So the first one is A Pictorial History of the American Indian by Oliver Lafarge. And I was like, what is this book? Like, I need to know more. Unfortunately, Memory Alpha did not have much information. It just says that Commander Charles Tucker III kept an ancient copy of the book in his quarters. And it does say that his book is a first edition.
What do you want to bet he has like a comic book inside of that? That like
Yeah.
you open it up and he's just hollowed it out.
So it's from
Playboy.
1956. There's not a lot of reviews of it online,
Yep.
and the reviews that there are, like, I bought this for $2 at a church book sale. It's interesting.
Ooh.
even like the academic reviews from the time were like, the style is choppy. Like, I don't know why this book particularly would be on his bookshelf.
It's a strange choice.
Here's the room in my house that I have completely recreated Commander Trip Tucker's room from Star Trek Enterprise.
The author was a 20th century anthropologist who studied Native American people and issues, and he was a champion for Native American rights. I was like looking because I was like expecting to come up with like something really weird about this book, but no, like he actually seems like he was like a good guy. He brought a lot of attention, and awareness to like the issue, like Native American people, and
Oh, good.
he wrote a lot of books. Around half of them were actually nonfiction, though. So he wrote a lot of novels, and he has a Pulitzer. I read a lot of the reviews too, and for the most part, people were like, "Yeah, it's fine. It's got like some good history." The only bad review I could find was somebody complaining, or not complaining, but pointing out that it's definitely written in a way that assumes the reader is not Native American.
Yeah.
It's very like, "Hi, fellow white person, let me tell you about the Native Americans." But I mean, also like, I feel like that was probably pretty normal for
Yeah,
that
talking to his
time. Like in
audience.
general, like it seems like it's actually. I couldn't find like anything particularly bad about it. It is just weird that Tripp has it.
No, he's never expressed any
Yeah.
sort of interest in the Old West or
Can I tell you my my headcanon
Yeah.
Sure.
that I have just created just now? The book is written by Oliver Lafarge. Do you think that he picked it up because he thought it was Geordie LaForge?
George,
I
From the
love him.
future.
He's a famous. Oh, that's right, from the future. Damn it,
from
never
the
mind.
future. It
But
could
also-
be.
I've been watching too much
It could
Discovery.
be
and
like a great grandfather.
It also looks like it's in pristine condition, like he has never opened it.
which would
Yeah.
check out, right?
For some reason he's placed it on lengthwise on the bottom as if he needs the other books to be at that height for some reason.
Yeah.
But also, like, even if the book is like pretty neutral, the fact that he has it as one of his few books is sus to me because
Yes.
this show has like basically no Native American First Nations characters on it. And First Nations folks are not historical. Like they continue to exist. They will continue to
Yes.
exist in
Yep.
the future.
Right.
So like this being like an artifact of American history is
Right.
to me not cool.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's fair. That's a
It'd be
fair
so much
point.
better if like Tripp just had a selection of like the books that I've kept with me as I've moved around from places. Like somebody when I graduated from grad school gave me a copy of Oh the Places You'll Go. How great would it be if Tripp had that
Yeah.
on his bookshelf?
Oh my god, that would be so good.
So the last book where I couldn't read it from
Yeah, it's
this
hard to
photo,
see.
but it was flagged in Memory Alpha, is a book called 12 Months That Changed the World by Larry LeSueur.
Okay.
The Memory Alpha page says this book, published in 1943, dealt with the Eastern Front of World War II. It was based on LeSueur's experience as a war correspondent. So I just wanted to say one thing that I found from LeSueur's Wikipedia page that was pretty funny. So this guy, he was a war correspondent. He actually died in 2003 at the age of 93 of Parkinson's. And after his death, his wife told CBS News that he died while listening to Colin Powell addressing the UN about, it was basically the famous like weapons of mass destruction
Oh my
speech.
god. He died
He
during
died, like-
that?
Yeah, like listening to it. Which, can you imagine that being like the last thing that you hear before your death? You're like lying on your deathbed and it's Colin Powell just like lying through his teeth about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Yeah, truly cursed, this poor man.
He died watching Star Trek Enterprise and he went, wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
But this particular book is a memoir from when he was a war correspondent in World War II. He was apparently embedded in Russia, and the book was published before the war was over.
Yeah.
I did some searches to see if I could find any reviews of this book. When I tell you, like, this book is it was so hard to find anything on this book.
Mm.
Goodreads had 3 ratings, no reviews. Amazon had 2 reviews. The first one was someone giving it 5 stars and just being like, this book is so rare. I found an original copy in an antique shop and bought it for $400 and sold it for a big profit. The second review gave it 2 out of 5 stars. And the subject is gullible American correspondent plays into Soviet hands during World War II.
Wow.
And they basically say that the author, because again, like he was in Russia as a war correspondent and like basically had like Russian handlers bringing him around and everything. And the author credulously believes every single thing that his Soviet party handlers tell him while he's there.
Amazing.
This guy says, you know, things like the Soviet workers are all happy. They don't mind going without food or sleeping in the open.
Sure.
The children are bright. Stalin is the father and founder. There are no brothels in Russia. And at one point, so in this review, they said that at one point, the author said he was on a train with a bunch of other war correspondents and all of their luggage disappeared. Apparently, it was just stolen. The Russians just said somebody came in and stole their luggage. A year later, he's on a tour of a prison in Moscow, and the secret police are like, "Oh, we got your luggage right here if you want it back." And the author's like, "It was so nice of them. They went out and caught the thieves and like got my luggage back for me."
Amazing.
Oh my God.
So the main thing is, why does Tripp have this book? Why does he have any of this books? I know I mentioned last week, but it's so clear that they just went to an antique shop and bought some random books and didn't care and didn't think at all about like, what does this say about the character? Like there was no thought put into like, hey, we want to decorate this character's room in a way that tells us something about who they are.
Yeah.
Nothing.
None of that.
Like
Nothing.
that little statue there.
Yeah.
That represents how he feels about himself.
That's his art therapy project.
The kind of beige book on the right, I'm assuming like we can't read what it says, but it does look like the second word is opera. So
It does look like it says
Oh, amazing.
opera.
something opera. I want to say
Like
tome
Tom
2
the
or
Second?
something.
Or yeah, Tome.
Yeah.
Still obsessed with that
Um,
little matchbox throne that's in there. What is
Yeah.
Yeah, what
Yeah,
is
I don't know what
little
that wooden
brown
thing
thing?
is.
That wooden thing.
And then there's like a tiny changeling bucket.
That's a better theory than our Yeti theory.
It's like this whole show in a microcosm. It like I look at this and I go, oh, the set designers didn't even like working on the show and did not care about their jobs and put no effort into this. Like that's what this tells me when I see this.
Especially if it's like, oh, it's a first year edition you're taking care of. Let's put a cup on it. But also, like, if it was actually something that you read, I get putting it back on top of the other books,
Right.
but not
Yeah.
Not at the
underneath.
bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything about this doesn't make sense. It bothers me. It feels so lazy. It feels so generic. Star Trek usually does so good. I love when we get to see inside somebody's room
Right.
for the first time. I'm watching Discovery, and I got so excited when we finally saw inside Saru's room. I love when you finally see a character's room, and there's something about it where you're like, oh, I get this character more by just seeing the things that they have and seeing like the few things that they care about enough to like use in their room. I mean, the show Archer's Room does I look at Archer's Room and I'm like,
There's a lot
oh
of
yeah,
stuff.
he's obsessed with military history. He loves World War II. Like he's got his
Water polo ball.
water polo ball. Like I look at his room and I'm like, yeah, this is Archer's room. This makes sense. This doesn't make sense.
No.
All right. Well, we can move on and never talk about this shelf again.
Yes,
it was such a fast shot too. It was like the camera focused on it. This was from Cogenitor, and then it like panned down and across the room. But I was like, wait, stop. I need to know everything about this bookshelf.
Someday some lunatic is going to do one of those AI upscaling things like they do for like the old film footage from like the Lumiere brothers. Like, now you can see what this person's face is like, and we're going to be able to finally see what the last 3 books
what that
are.
opera book is.
Yeah.
All right, so we can move on to our read alerts. Woo, 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 woo. I don't know if we have a sound effect for it. That is read being READ. the section for emails that we get from listeners.
Our sound should be that. It should be like, read, R-E-A-D. That's the alarm.
Read.
So
Alert. R-E-A-D alert. Look at my pom-poms out.
So last week I mentioned that we had an email from a listener, Rachel, who sent us 4 questions, and we only talked about 2 last week. So we can talk about the last 2 now. The first one is, you occasionally mention that friends have told you Enterprise improves in season 3 and 4. Do you know in what way it improves?
I think I do, or at least I know a little bit.
I've definitely heard that there's more like longer arcs, like sometimes like 3 or even I think maybe 4 episodes.
Yeah,
I see Jared nodding.
I think season 3 is more or less one big arc, kind of, is what I understand. And there certainly are like within that specific storylines that span multiple episodes. I also know that they switched the big bad out.
So maybe that's the Zindi, because I know that there's like an episode called the Zindi that's coming up.
It's the first
and
episode of
I know that that's like
3.
a thing because I've seen other people being like, oh, like best Zindi episodes and stuff. Like people talk about that. So I'm like, oh, maybe they're gonna move on from Suliban, which thank God.
It is interesting. So Stephen has watched all of Enterprise back in the day, so he remembers some of it. And when we were watching this, we were about 5 or 10 minutes before the end, and really, like, he was like, there's a lot to wrap up here, because like it was the moment where like Archer gets taken by the Klingons, and it's really not very long before the end, and he was like, oh, maybe this is a 2-parter, and I was like, it's definitely not a 2-parter. Like, I'm pretty sure.
God, can you imagine if this episode had been a 2-parter?
Yeah, I was like, it better not be a 2-parter. We better not be coming back to this. But yeah, I think the last episode will probably be a cliffhanger and I think sort of starts to intro what is going to happen with the Zindi.
The thing I had heard was,
it's my theory, we'll know next week.
And apparently unless this last episode.
Yeah, don't say it if you think it's a spoiler, but
no, the thing I had heard was that they wrap up the temporal Cold War in season 2, and unless
thank God,
unless they take care of that in the next episode, which is the last episode of the season,
I think they might.
Just okay. Well, we'll find out.
I would love that, because I feel like we've gotten so many episodes and I still don't even know what the temporal Cold War is, and I just don't care.
I don't know that we ever will, but I think they maybe will at least try to close out some shit.
They put up a little sign that says the temporal Cold War died on its way back to its home planet.
Yeah.
So the last question that she sent is, there's a new Star Trek series coming out. Yay. So she talked about Starfleet Academy. If you could put any Enterprise character in Starfleet Academy, who would it be and what would their role be? I definitely feel like Hoshi could
that's
be
that's the first person that came to.
We've already seen her being an instructor. I feel like she'd be great.
Oh, I want to see Old Man Trip. I want to see
future.
Connor Trenier now playing an old Trip who's like, wizened and experienced, like giving advice to these young whippersnappers and like talking about like, because of all the dumb mistakes that he's made, and he's like trying to give these young people advice. It's like, I understand why you want to do this stupid thing, but you can't do that.
I love imagining he's not even a teacher. He's like the old janitor out by the tree.
He's the gardener. Yeah,
he's the new gardener. Yeah. Yeah, I go back to, wouldn't it be fun to see what happened to Travis, right? Like, I would love for him to be like cynical and bitter and just like a grumpy old man. I think that would be fun.
Oh, it would be so fun to have Travis be part of, like,
he was like, in my day, I was one of the first out there, and I know my shit, like, you whippersnappers.
I could see Travis teaching like history, like warp engine history or something like that.
I feel like I got my Enterprise things I wanted to see in Lower Decks.
Yes,
that's fair.
Yeah.
So I guess I would go with just like Hoshi or Travis as the most underused characters. Like maybe there's a hologram of Hoshi for language stuff.
Yeah.
Like a holographic Hoshi language coach.
Oh,
Sure.
I'd love that.
Oh, that would be really fun.
That would be
I
really
would definitely
fun.
prefer that over Duolingo.
Yeah.
You clip pan in, there's an entire classroom of kids going, "Ship! Ship!"
Yeah, just like yelling ship at the universal translator.
Day one.
All right. We also got another email from Bill, not our Bill, listener
Bill,
Bill.
Stop sending us emails.
Why is Bill so awesome?
He was responding to our episode on cogenitor about like the whole thing about Malcolm only liking bland food was brought up again. And Bill told us that he wonders if it's possible that Malcolm's affinity for bland food is actually because he's been trying to suppress an unusually strong libido, which is increased by flavors in food. And it's not actually that he doesn't like bland food. And I would say this is disturbing.
Well, I think it's fun if he's trying to suppress his libido for other men. Then it's interesting to me.
Yeah, like,
but only because that fits in our headcanon.
Any spices, he takes a spoonful of curry and is like, ooh.
It's a Jekyll and Hyde situation. Yeah.
And that's the episode. Thank you so much for listening. Next episode, Bill is going to be telling us about the episode The Expanse, which is the finale of season 2. And I'm sure it's going to be about the Enterprise crew discovering the proto-molecule.
Fingers crossed.
Jarrah, thank you so much for joining us again. I again apologize for making you watch this episode. Although it was, to be fair, was optional. We didn't make you. It was optional. You chose to do it and come back on.
Did you feel like you were trapped in a room with a lunatic?
Feels like
It
feels a little like blaming the victim there, but okay.
It was like someone had put a contract out for my head, and I was on a ship, and I had to watch this episode to negotiate for my freedom.
Can you let everyone know where they can find you on the internet?
You can find me at JARRAH Penguin on Blue Sky or at TrekkieFeminist.com.
Also 10 years worth of Women at Work episodes.
That's true.
Many of which you were on. Every once in a while, I'll like go, especially sometimes if I'm watching an episode that I know you guys covered, like I just recently listened to the cogenitor episode, which were you on that one?
Yes.
Yeah, just because I was like, I was, after watching it, I was like, I need to see if Women at Work did this. So I do periodically go back and like listen to old Women at Work episodes that I had skipped the first time around because I was unfamiliar with source material.
Valid.
Special thanks to our producer K.O. Myers at Particulate Media, to our friend David for our beautiful cover art, and to John Stephen King for being the voice of our computer. If you liked the show, please rate, review, subscribe on your podcast app of choice, and please tell your friends about it. We really appreciate it. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook as @EnterprisePlaning, and on Blue Sky as @EnterprisePlane. You can also email us any comments or questions, such as, who do you think would win in a fight, the Enterprise crew or the Rocinante crew? And why is it definitely the Rocinante crew?
I'm really scared about hosting this episode now because I don't have any Expanse jokes. I barely remember anything about that show.
There's also blue glitter, but you shouldn't get it on yourself.
My cats are named Prax, Amos, Bobby, and Drummer. So, anyways, you can email us that question or what your answer to it to enterpriseplaning@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. And we might feature you on an upcoming Read Alerts, READ Alerts segment. If you want to support this podcast, you can find us at Buy Me a Coffee as Enterprise Planning. We will see you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.
I have written. You can't see it. It's not
Wait,
coming in
I
focus.
can't
I
see
have
it.
literally go down there. And
Marsupials.
giant letters, marsupials, and then I wrote down the time code so I can find it later.
I just want to point out they are not marsupials. They did not evolve from other marsupials. They are marsupial-like.
Not according to Phlox, they're not.
Well, the colder temperatures have finally arrived, and that can only mean one thing. No, that was the last promo, but it still means monsters. This is Jim from Monster Attack, reminding you to join us every week for a discussion on some of the great monster movies that impacted us throughout our lives. New episodes drop at 5 p.m. And remember, Monster Attack is a proud member of the ESO Network.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.